Hey guys, just want to talk a second about the Hebrew word Elohim. In the first part of this video, I might break this up into two parts, I don't know. But in the first part, I'm going to talk about Elohim, and then afterwards I'm going to talk about Echad and Yahid. There's an argument made about Deuteronomy 6:4, the Shema, where it says, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim, Yahweh is Echad," which is translated as "is one." And there's an argument made there, and I'll get into that. I'm sure there's some people out there that already know what I'm talking about, but I intend to show why the argument cannot be proven to be true, and it does not show either Elohim, Echad, or Yahid. None of these words show that God is a plural, and that is the point of this video. Elohim is the plural form of El, or also Eloah, and appears, it's closely related to El, which usually means God or Mighty One, El. So the argument is made that since you have El, and then instead of it saying in the beginning, El created the heavens and the earth, which would be the singular form God. Instead, it says Elohim, and it's used many times in the Bible. Because it's a plural word, it's argued that that means that makes God a plurality or a compound unity. So my first question would be, well, why isn't it translated that way? If Elohim is intended to show that it's plural, then why doesn't the first scripture of the Bible say, "In the beginning, gods created the heavens and the earth"? Because it doesn't. It doesn't say that. It says God, and I'll get into the reason why. In biblical Hebrew, I got some notes on this, but in biblical Hebrew, a noun that is plural in form is not necessarily plural in meaning. For instance, the Hebrew word triune, which is the Hebrew word for life, that is the plural form of life. But this was used in reference to Sarah in Genesis 23, verse 1, Sarah's life, all right, but it's translated from a plural word that is triune, all right. So you have the plural word of life, but it's translated in a singular form. Does Sarah have more than one life? Is Sarah's life a compound unity? All the arguments that are made in reference to Elohim, can you make those same arguments in reference to Sarah's life? I don't see how a person could. And I think anyone would agree, Trinitarian or not, that you cannot say these same things about Sarah's life. Another thing, panim, which means face, it was used in reference to Joseph in Genesis 43:31. Again, can you say the same things about Joseph's face? Is Joseph's face a compound unity? Does it show a plurality of Joseph's face? So there it is again. You have the plural form of face, but it's used obviously in a singular meaning. So where exactly do you get off saying that Elohim definitively means that God is a plurality or a compound unity? You're just making it say that, but you don't have a scriptural basis at all in saying that. These arguments cannot be used consistently. They have to be isolated with certain things that you want to speak about. But if you try these same arguments that you make for Trinitarianism throughout the Bible for all things, as I've done here, it just doesn't work. And that should be something that should be alarming once it's made known to you. Another word, Adon, that is the singular word for Lord or Master. It's often in plural form in the Bible as well, and it creates another problem for this argument if it's used consistently. In its plural form, it is sometimes used as a single person, or used of a single person. One example is Abraham. In Genesis 24, verses 9 through 10, Abraham is referred to in the plural form of Lord or Master in Hebrew. Is Abraham a plurality? Is Abraham a compound unity? No. The same word was used of Joseph in Genesis 42, 30, and 33. The king of Egypt, Genesis 40 and 1. And an anonymous fierce king under whose rule the Egyptians were prophesied to come. That's Isaiah 19:4. So, and there's other instances of other Hebrew words that are also used in plural forms and have absolute singular meanings. So we have to understand this is biblical Hebrew and what the rules are of biblical Hebrew. We can't make it be what we want it to be. Elohim is also used, Elohim, the plural word, is also used of individual false gods of Israel, Israel's surrounding nations. Examples of this, Dagon, which was the god of the Philistines, 1 Samuel 5:7. Elohim was used to talk about Dagon. Is Dagon also plural? Is he also a compound unity? Shemash, if I'm pronouncing that right, the god of Ammon and Moab, also use Elohim to describe him. That's Judges 11:24, 1 Kings 11:33. You have, let's see, the goddess of the Sidonians, 1 Kings 11:33. Yeah, so there it is, Elohim of them as well. Milcom, another god of the Amorites, 1 Kings 11:33 again. All these guys are used, and they were used as Elohim. So where is the consistency in the Elohim argument? Now also, God is translated from El. El is the absolute singular, verb. Even a Trinitarian is going to agree that has gone through this. It's going to say, okay, El, E-L, is the singular form for God. Elohim, the plural. So El. In the following passages, El is used in reference to Yahweh. Okay, that's Genesis 17:1, Exodus 34:6, Joshua 34:10, Isaiah 5:16, Psalm 29:3, from Eloah, which is another singular form of God, Deuteronomy 32:15, Nehemiah 9:17, and Job 4:9. And as a matter of fact, in Job used El more often than he used Elohim to describe God. So you have that. Let's look at Exodus 34:6. Yahweh passed before him and proclaimed, Yahweh passed before him and he proclaimed, Yahweh, Yahweh, a God, El, singular, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. So we have here the singular form used to describe Yahweh. So now you've isolated Yahweh in a singular God. So what does that do to the other two members of the Trinity? You're going to end up with more than one God on your hands, and that's what I can't understand. I mean, when you really start studying Trinitarianism, I can't see how you can't come away with the realization that is more than one God. You have God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit that doesn't have a name, and they're all gods. They're separate and distinct, and God is separating himself for sure. He's not even putting, in this passage, the writer's not even putting God in the same context as the other two. I mean, mainly because he didn't know about the other two. He didn't worship the other two because the person who wrote Exodus, which was Moses, didn't worship the Trinity. And what's funny is a lot of these passages that I'm going to quote here are all written by Moses. And it shows Moses did not understand this as a Trinity in his own language, which he spoke fluently. If anybody understood it, would be Moses. And so why did Moses worship a Trinity if he understood it the same way you do? Obviously, Moses did not understand these passages like Genesis 1:26 and Deuteronomy 6:4, which gets thrown all over the place. But he didn't understand them the same way you did because he didn't worship a Trinity or any plurality of God. So maybe you should trust Moses to understand his language. It's just something to think about. Moving on, instances where Elohim is actually plural. It does actually mean more than one God. It is a plural it's not only Elohim used, but used of singular. In this case, I'm about to name, it's actually more than one God. Deuteronomy 5:7. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no other Elohim before me. So there, the context dictates, obviously, that is talking about more than one God. So why is it there that it's translated plural? Why is it here it's understood to be plural, but in all the instances of God, it has to be debated over? It's just something to think about, the context, okay? Deuteronomy 11:16. Take care lest your heart be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. Serve other Elohim and worship them. So we're talking about other gods, and it's being used as Elohim. And I mean, the context is clear. Now when you go to the Greek Septuagint, translated about 250, 300 years before Christ, used by the Jews. All right, so the Jewish people use this. So their understanding was involved in this particular translation. And I'm sure if it wasn't translated correctly, they would have said so. You have theos in its singular form. All right, theos is the Greek word for God in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, theos created the heavens and the earth. And it's the singular Greek form of that word. But then now when you look in Exodus 12:12, all right, so I'm going to read this off. For I will go through the land of Egypt in that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and animal. Against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Yahweh. So all the other gods, plural there, okay? Elohim. The Greek Septuagint has it translated in its plural form there. The Greek word that's plural for God is there, not the singular form. All right? So there it is again. It's very consistent. They seem to have understood that. This is prior to Christ. Deuteronomy 7:16. You shall consume all the peoples whom Yahweh your God shall deliver to you. Your eye shall not pity them, neither shall you serve their gods, plural, for that will be a snare to you. So there it is again. If you go into the Septuagint, once again, you'll find the plural form there. So consistently in the Septuagint, when we're talking about God of Israel, it's singular every time. And then when we're talking about multiple gods, there's a completely different form of that word God that is plural that is used there. The point is, in biblical Hebrew, just because a word is plural does not mean it's talking about a plurality. It depends on how it's used in the context of the statement. And again, I've shown you other examples where other Hebrew words that are in a plural form absolutely have to mean their singular form. You can't even argue it. You know, talking about Sarah's life and Joseph's face. You know, so you can't even argue those. So I don't get this whole Elohim thing. And once again, if that is what it meant, then why didn't the Jews worship a plural God? Why didn't Moses? I ask this question so much. If anyone watches my videos consistently, they're probably tired of me asking this question. But it's just, why did Moses or David or Abraham or Isaiah or why didn't any of these guys worship a plural God? Why didn't they understand what you did? Why didn't they? Why is it that you understand their language better than they do? Or better than they did, I should say. Why is that? Why is it Moses missed the triune God in in Genesis 1:26, but you caught it? You know, I find that incredible. I do. So that's all I'm going to say about Elohim. You know, I hope that kind of shows the point that this whole Elohim idea is showing the plurality. I mean, what about the times that it's used in singular? Elohim is used as well as El, which is the singular of God. So at what point is it plural? At what point is it singular? Just be consistent in the way you argue these things. That's all you have to do. Okay, moving on to Echad versus Yahid. This argument comes up from Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is Echad. Yahweh is one. I'm going to start out by saying this. Speaking on this subject, go learn the Hebrew numerical system. Google it, YouTube it. Matter of fact, I'll leave a link to a YouTube video where they talk about the Hebrew. And this isn't even a biblical thing. This is just a person teaching Hebrew. It's not something trying to prove a biblical argument. It's just learning Hebrew. Simple as that. Whether it be of the Bible or not has nothing to do with it. And in the video I watched, Echad is said to be the numerical number for one. Okay, so we need to start off with that. When you learn Hebrew numerical system, no one's going to teach you that Yahid is number one, because it's not. All right, Echad is the number one. So moving on from that, Echad is used it's used 967 times in the Hebrew Bible. That makes it the most frequently used adjective in the Tanakh, or Hebrew Bible, Old Testament. Most frequently used, okay? All right. Sometimes Echad, which is the numerical number one, is even translated in our English Bibles as with an indefinite article. For example, Echad new cart is translated a new cart. You could say one new cart is no big deal. It doesn't change the meaning of the text. But it just shows, it's meant to be one, okay? A new cart, a Jupiter tree, a book. So these are passages in 1 Samuel 6:7, 1 Kings 19:4-5, and Jeremiah 51:60. Some make the argument that because Echad is used in passages such as Genesis 1:5, evening and morning were day Echad or day one. Or Genesis 24. This is a big one right here. Genesis 2:24. A husband and wife shall become one flesh. All right, so there's the compound unity idea there. And another one, I don't hear this one quoted as much, but that's the same thing. Ezekiel 37:17. Two sticks are to become a Echad stick, or one stick. So because of these things, people believe that Echad can be understood as a compound unity. My answer to that would be yes, it could be. It depends. It depends on what's being said. It depends on how it's being used. For example, in these two passages, okay, these big ones that people like to quote to support this idea, a husband and wife, all right, you got two distinct persons, shall become one flesh. Okay, so there, Echad is being used to show two things that are coming together in a unity. Okay, two things coming together in a unity. Two things coming together in unity. Ezekiel 37:17. Two sticks are to become one stick. Okay, two things coming together to form unity. The problem with that is that in Deuteronomy 6:4, there are no two things that are coming together. It simply says Yahweh, our God, Yahweh is Echad. There's nothing that shows two people or two things or two items or two anything coming together. It's only speaking of one person. So where is this idea of a compound unity? All right, so you take the husband and wife shall become one flesh, and you say, oh look, Echad is there, there's two, and become one. That that shows how God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit become one. But yet in the very passage of Deuteronomy 6:4, you have no items, you have no people, just one person. You don't have two or more being Echad. You don't have two or more being one. Only person being spoken of is Yahweh. I think that poses a serious problem with that understanding. Now, Yahid, all right, the argument is that Yahid is a word and this is the way I've heard the argument said. Yahid is a word that specifically and unanimously means one without a doubt. Whereas Echad, it can mean a compound, it can mean one person, it can mean two or more. It just, it can mean, it's open for interpretation is the idea. And if God, or you could even say Moses, who wrote Deuteronomy 6:4, if they wanted to definitively say that it's only Yahweh, then they could have used Yahid. That is the argument that is made. But then when you go look at Yahid and the places that it's used in the Bible, first, Yahid is a rarely used word in the Tanakh, Hebrew Bible. And it is employed in a special sense when it's used. It is found a grand total of 12 times in the entire Hebrew Bible, Old Testament. 3 of those times is actually in the same passage. So any argument you make using Yahid, it's already weak because it's used so rarely. What is your sample set here? I'm not saying that definitively proves it wrong, but just you're already starting from a weak point because Echad is used 967 times for so many different things, not just to talk about the one God, but just countless things that have to mean one. All right, and I'll give some examples of that here in just a second, but you have to look at the way Yahid is being used. All right, its meaning is restricted to a unique priceless possession. Okay, as a matter of fact, the definition of it, I believe, is only. Hang on here a second. Let me see if I can find this. It's in the Bible where I can pull that up here real quick. Let's see. Genesis. Hang on just a second. I think I got one. Yeah, here it is, Yahid. Okay, so for example, Genesis 22, verse 2, Yahid is used there. The short definition, I'm looking at it in a strong concordance, and the short definition means only. Okay, so only, and it's to be, there's other places where it's translated as lonely, for an example. So getting back to it, on the other hand, Yahid is rarely used in the entire Tanakh. Its use is special. It is restricted to unique, priceless possession, whether a person or thing, or to solitary, desolate, isolated, or lonely people. So go look up the 12 instances that you see that word and look at how it's used. You'll see things like only son, only daughter, or I am lonely. I am Yahid, meaning I am lonely in a desolate place. There's no hint that that word is intended to be a number. All right, it's never meant to be a number. The intent of that word is that there's something that is priceless to that person. Like, for example, when Abraham's talking about his Yahid son, all right, his only son. Look at the context of how that's used. Again, if Moses wants to say that God is one, a numerical one, he can't use Yahid because it doesn't mean that. All right, it has a whole different context. That's why it's so rarely used. It's only used 12 times, like I said. And when you look at where is it? This is over in the New Testament where Jesus and his scribe, they're talking about it. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I know I believe it's in Mark 12. I should have had this up, I guess, if I'm going to talk about it. Mark 12. All right, the most important was this. Jesus answered, "Hear this, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." And let's see how that was translated. It was translated from the word heis, short definition, one, a primary number. That is the definition of the word. So there's Jesus using it there. So where is the transfer of the idea of Yahid into Jesus' use of the Shema of Israel in Mark 12:29. Again, Jesus sticks with the number system, all right? The number one in Greek, the number one in Hebrew. So there's just no, you're just making an argument that really is baseless. It's just a baseless argument. Now let's look at Leviticus. Another thing is, okay, if you're going to use this argument, okay, if Moses wanted to definitively say that God is one and only one, and there's no possible, implications of a compound unity or plurality, then he would have used Echad. Well, here's Leviticus, another writing of Moses. All right, and it says, and if she cannot, this is Leviticus 12:8, and if she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and one for a sin offering. Let's look at that. 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and one for a sin offering. I bet you can guess what word they used there. They used Echad. Now let's look at this in implications of the argument with Yahid. If Moses only wanted to make sure, if Moses wanted to make sure that you understood that this is supposed to be one for a burnt offering, no possibility of a compound unity or plurality here, he should have used the word Yahid. But here Moses used the word Echad, and quite clearly he is intending for you to understand this as one for a burnt offering and one Echad for a sin offering. So is Moses' intent here to leave it up to you to figure out whether or not he's talking about a compound unity sin offering, a compound unity burnt offering, a plurality offering, like as in instead of taking 1 pigeon, he's actually meant 3 pigeons because it was Echad. And Moses did not use Echad because he didn't need to, because the Hebrew word for one is Echad. It's as simple as that. And so again, use your argument consistency. Take that argument, apply it to places where it really has nothing to do with God, to give yourself an unbiased interpretation, an unbiased understanding of that. And you'll see that the argument cannot consistently fit. Okay, Moses chose the word he chose because he meant what he said. All right, one. It's just simple as that. Now moving on. Okay, here's something I find interesting about Echadim, or I'm giving it away, but what I find interesting about Echad, there's a plural version of this word, Echadim. All right, and it's used. There's 5 instances where Echad is used in the plural Echadim. Okay. Echadim is usually translated few, but one may be the best translation in Genesis 11:1 and Ezekiel 37:17. All right, so here come these verses again. All right, so let's see here, Ezekiel 37:17. Okay, it says, "And join them one to another into one stick, that they may become one Echadim in your hand." So what is the implications of this? Okay, first, we now have established that there is actually a Hebrew word that could have been used by Moses in the Shema of Israel. All right, so here we go again with this, what Moses could have done stuff. All right, and Moses could have said, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is Ahadim." Now that leaves some room open for a compound unity interpretation, because look how this word is used in 37:17. So you have Echad, that means one, but then there's a plural form of that, which is Echadim, and it's used here in Ezekiel. All right, and join them one to another into one stick, that they may become one Echadim in your hand. Okay, that they may become Echadim in your hand. There is a compound unity. Join the 2 sticks together. See that? That's the idea. That is the context, okay, of what it's saying. Look at Genesis 11:1. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. All right, so right there that's translated the same. That actually is Echadim, the plural form of Echad. So there's a coming together again, one language. And let's look at the King James Version, how they translate this. And I'll read off some other translations. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Now the first part, one language, that's one thing. But where Echadim shows up in the passage is the latter part of the verse, which is and of one speech, and of Echadim speech. Other translations that do the same thing, the Jubilee Bible translations, and the whole world was of one language and of one speech. And the American Standard Version, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Webster's Bible translation, as well as World English Bible, they also translate that passage as one speech. But one there is Echadim, which is a plural word. And so I keep saying this again. The reason why I'm pounding on this is because if you want to talk about what Moses could have done, and you want to say Moses could have said Yahid to mean only, all right, which I would like to think that our proven shows that word, it doesn't even mean a numerical anything. It doesn't even have anything to do with numbers. All right, it has a sense of loneliness. It has a sense of, like when the woman said in one particular passage, I am lonely. Okay, I am Yahid. I am lonely. Doesn't even have anything to do with a numerical system. But then when you look at, there's actually a word that Moses could have used, or anybody for that matter could have used, to give at least a hint of a compound unity, and that is the plural form of the very word Echad, Echadim. So, you know, in conclusion, like I say, it's just not, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you've got to realize that God is one. All right, and God is Echad, that's one. And it said Yahweh is one. It didn't say, you know, what if Moses would have said, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, our Elohim. Yahweh, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, our Elohim is Echadim. Now you got something. But that's not what it says. All right, there's no coming together. There's no two or more people that show that this is a compound unity, two people coming together like the man and the woman shall become one flesh. Well, in the text, you have a man, you have a woman. That's two people, and they become Echad flesh. That makes sense because you see there's two people there. Where's the more than one person in the Shema? Deuteronomy 6:4. So, in conclusion, I hope, and I know this video is long, but I'm just trying to show that, you know, sometimes before you jump out there and make these Elohim arguments and all this stuff, just pause for a second and really think about what you're saying. You know, for example, if you're going to say that means a compound unity, that would have to be more than one. You can't have a compound unless there's more than one. I mean, think about that. You can't have the man and woman compounding to become one flesh, all right, as it's poetically put, unless there's two people. And you are right in the neighborhood of polytheism when you do that. And we all know polytheism is a no-no. You have to be monotheistic. So, you know, Genesis 1:1, does it say in the beginning gods created the heavens and the earth? First verse of the Bible, like I said, would be proclaiming polytheism. Right off the bat. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. First verse of the Bible. But that's not the case. So let your arguments be consistent. If you're going to make these type of arguments, apply that everywhere. Apply how you do Elohim everywhere. Apply how you do Echad everywhere. Apply how you say he could have said Yahid. Apply that to Echadim. You know, you're going to say, well, he could have said Yahid. Like I said, it doesn't show a compound. Excuse me, that word has nothing to do with numerical. It's got a specific meaning. That's why it's used so rarely. It's not even intended to have anything to do with a number. But yet there is a plural form of Echadim, which does have something to do with a number that could show a compound unity, just like he was using the text I gave. Yeah, he didn't use that either, did he? So I guess I conclude that. I've talked long enough, but I hope you guys got something out of that. You know, if you're a Trinitarian and you're considering this passage, consider the things said in this video, look them up yourself, research them yourself, see is it definitive proof as it said? Is it just a clear-cut case, or is there a lot more to that story than what they're saying? Wish everybody the best. Shalom to everyone that watched.